Please pause and read this carefully. This is information, not legal advice. Every case is different. When a co-parent withholds custody with malintent, the typical response is to call the police and report the violation of the custody order. Unfortunately, the police typically say, "Sorry, we can't help. This is a civil matter." And then the only option was the slow, expensive, and often ineffective petition for contempt through the courts. But there's an alternative. The Interference with Child Custody Coalition encourages you to pursue this as the crime that it is. When reporting a crime as a victim, a police officer should come to the scene of the crime and take an offense report. There's an investigation and then prosecution by the district attorney. You don't need a private attorney. You can pursue both criminal charges for custodial interference and a civil claim for contempt simultaneously. Custodial interference is a crime in every state and has been for over 40 years. When you are faced with egregious, deliberate, and repeated violations of your legitimate custody order, we recommend you take these steps to enforce it. First, look up your state penal code for custody interference. If your state law describes the situation, it's a crime. Write it down and be prepared to cite the statute to the police officer when you report it. Next, identify what law enforcement agency has jurisdiction over your exchange point. Call 911 from the location and report the violation saying, "I'd like to report a crime. Please send an officer." Don't accept a report over the phone. Next, follow your court order to the letter. Don't modify it. If the court order states to meet at McDonald's at 6 p.m., be sure you're there. Consider an officer courtesy standby if you foresee a denial or problem. Fourth, have your court order with you. A certified paper copy is best. Have a copy of the penal code too. Video record when possible, and ideally have a witness. Fifth, cite the law if law enforcement states it's a civil matter. Politely ask questions about when the law is enforced and what makes this situation different. Stick to the facts when reporting the crime and leave blame, drama, and emotions out of the conversation. Sixth, request that the officer's body cam be turned on to record your reporting. Request the officer's name, badge number, and supervising officer. A word of caution. It's very likely that you'll leave the scene without your child, so remain calm and be respectful if the officer refuses to treat the incident as a crime. Seventh, if the officer refuses, request a report number. Understand that very often law enforcement deems these issues as civil and they're unaware the penal code even exists on this issue. Be sure to receive some form of documentation and ask for a supervisor to elevate the reporting process, during which you will again obtain names and badge numbers. And last, if the supervisor refuses, submit an open records request for the department policy and procedures. Then submit an internal affairs complaint if the standard policy wasn't followed. As a general matter, following these steps in most jurisdictions will give you the best chance of enforcing your valid custody order. However, every police department, municipality, and personal situation can be different. The police, as a key arm of law enforcement, are an extremely powerful organization, so there can be unforeseen consequences if you take too antagonistic approach with powerful people. You are always cautioned to think, evaluate, and consider all manners of approaching the police, including meeting with officers that you know within the force, or meeting with the police captain ahead of time to discuss the policy on enforcing custody orders and any other option your particular circumstance might warrant. Remember, it's very dangerous for the police to handle custody calls, as domestic violence and safety is always a concern. So, advance warning of your intentions could take the threat of danger out of the equation and remove it as an excuse for the police not to enforce your rights. Please remember, the whole point is for you to gain access to your child. not weaponize law enforcement to penalize your ex. The other alternative you can also pursue simultaneously is legislative advocacy. The Interference with Child Custody Coalition recommends you also contact your legislators to pursue enforcing or changing the laws, but that's a topic for another video. Written by the Interference with Child Custody Coalition and produced by the Law Center, the creator of the Family Court Custody Bootcamp. Click the link in the description portion of this video to learn more about them.